Welcome to the Immigration Hour. This is Attorney Stella. Today's video answers this question. I have completed all my visa application processes and I have my visa interview scheduled in 2 days. What should I expect at the interview and how do I prepare for it? To answer your question, there's only so much you can do. What I will tell you is this. When you filled out the form DS-160, that is the non-immigrant visa application, that information is put in the warehouse in the U.S. Consular Consolidated Database. And that database has the current and archived information of all the U.S. consulate stations around the world. Just before your interview, what happens is that database provides the consular affair post with the real-time aggregate information as to what has been happening in the other consular posts, as to whether you had ever applied for a visa there or not. So it provides all that information. It consolidates the information. So as you are entering into that interview room, the officers are trained so that to be able to determine whether your petition is that which should be approved or not approved. This warehouse also does a registration for facial recognition for everyone who comes to the consulate. So it checks for the fingerprint, it does the facial recognition, and it also, all the information, the biographic information that you provided in your application, it puts it in this warehouse and they screen that application at all the other embassies and locally. The United States government, the consular offices, they believe that you're going to the United States to go and stay, regardless of whether you tell them that or not. So they already believe that you have an immigrant intent. You're going to the United States with the purpose not to return but to stay there. So you have, the burden is the onus. The burden is on you to disprove the fact that they already have that intention. The default response is sorry, but no. So if you do not answer, that's why sometimes when you get in, sometimes it takes a minute or two for the officer to talk to you. And when you do not respond accordingly, then the default response by the officer is always that sorry, but no. So until you prove to that officer otherwise, which is that no, I am not going to the United States to go and stay, I am going there with the intent to return. So that being the case, to know how to answer your questions, the question was, now my interview, how do I prepare for the interview and how do I answer the questions? You already know that the information that you're providing, the database warehouse will screen all the worldwide American consular posts. They will screen all the information to make sure that you are the sort of person that they want to issue a visa to go to the United States. Obviously, you haven't committed a crime. Visas had not been denied from you before. So now you're going, as you're entering, the officer already has already weighed and known that whether you're the sort of person who should go to the United States or not. So those other questions that they'll be asking you, it is just to confirm what they already know about you, because they've already checked all your background, they've checked your fingerprints, and even with the facial recognition, you've already been registered for the facial recognition. So they've checked all of that. So as you're coming, the officer also already has an idea as to whether you are the sort of person that should have a visa or not. So, and it is not one response that is going to make the officer to deny or approve a visa to you. It's a combination of things. Sometimes they ask you just one question, but they want to see that the information that you provided in your application and the information that they collected from the automatic screening through their database, to see whether there's any contradictory information, whether what you tell them will contradict what they already know. So if you provide contradictory information, your chances are very slim, because again, they already know who you are through what you have provided them, which is your application, and through the database. That is the database that has screened you to see whether if you've ever applied for a visa and it's been denied and you did not disclose it, they will have that information. So the fact about it is that when you go for the interview, just speak the truth. As they say, the truth will set you free. When you tell the truth, it just comes out, and you speak your truth, and the officer also sees through you, because they have your information. They have all the information before them, be it the one that you provided and one that you didn't provide. As you're coming for the interview, the officer will quickly look at the computer. What it is that the computer will spew out what they have found out about you. So the officer will ask you a question, quickly ask you a question to see whether what you're telling them is in line with the information you provided and the information that their database warehouse screened and obtained. Again, if you tell the truth, the chances that you will prevail are very high. So my advice is, before you go for that interview, review your application. Review what you put in the application so that you should not give contradictory information. As you go for the interview, have in your mind that the officer does not have to sit with you for 2 hours. Sometimes they even make a decision right there at the counter. There's been a situation where an officer asked just a single question to somebody who came in for a visa. And they ask, do you know anyone in the United States? And the person says, oh, no, I don't. And in actual fact, when that person fill out that application form, it asks for a lot of things. It asks for your telephone number. If you're communicating on a daily basis, you provided a telephone number. And that telephone number, if it's put in the database, in the consular database, they will be able to determine whether you've been talking to somebody in the US or not. So you say, oh no, I don't know anybody in the US. And the officer just said, sorry, but no. So now you're wondering, wait a minute, this officer just denied my visa application right at the counter. We didn't even sit down to talk. Why? Because before the officer came to you, they already know that you've been talking to someone in the United States. Yet, you tell them that no, you don't know anybody there. The fact about it is that you have to speak your truth. You provided a telephone number to the officer, and using that number, you have been communicating with people in the United States. And when they ask you a question, the first question, do you know anyone in the US? You say, no, I don't. And I don't know why you did that, because that's not the truth. There's really no one way of preparing. An officer does not have to ask you too many questions. The officer just needs to ask 1 or 2 questions. And sometimes there's a need for many more questions. Therefore, your chances of being granted a visa, a non-immigrant visa at the post that you go to there, depend on a lot of factors, which will include just you as a person, your outlook on the process, your truthfulness as to the responses that you give the officer, understanding that the officer has already done his work. That computer has information on you. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you have enough to be able to understand what it takes to be able to have a successful non-immigrant visa application process at your consulate or at the embassy. Our purpose here is to provide information. We hope that this information has been very educative. As you all know, knowledge is power. So please share this information to your friends and family so that we can all empower each other. Thank you.